More than 3,000 years ago, the scriptures chronicle that the God of the Hebrews had much to say about what the people of Israel were supposed to eat. But one of the most interesting requirements of their Levitical law stated that they were not allowed to eat any animal fat. Fat was to be burned on the altar, set apart, and not consumed. The message was clear. Animal fat was not food for fuel. Fast forward to today, and the messaging is quite the opposite. That fat, especially from animals, should be our primary energy source. But can the body really sustain itself this way long term without injury? Is the keto diet major hype or major help? The ketogenic diet claims that if you swap your carbohydrates for fat, your body becomes a fat-burning machine. But here's the big question. Is burning fat for fuel a sustainable path to health, or is it a metabolic shortcut that may leave hidden damage in its wake? I'm Dr. Nadine Plummer, ND, but based on the stories, keto sounds powerful. Rapid weight loss, better blood sugar, even neurological benefits. But when we take a closer look, how does it hold up?
What I think about the keto diet is having low sugar could be good for your body, and high fat could be good too. It really depends on what kind of digestive system you have.
Part of the theory behind the keto diet is the understanding that if we descended from cavemen, then we should be eating a caveman's diet, which is assumed to be overwhelmingly carnivorous. But should modern man be led by a caveman? We sat down with the owners of a restaurant appropriately called the Keto Caveman Cafe and Bar to understand their motivation behind their restaurant. Hi, Bahram. You are the owner of the Keto Caveman Cafe and Bar, is that right?
Yes.
And how long have you been the owner of this establishment?
10 years.
10 years. Can I ask you, are you on a keto diet?
Most of the times. Because I do lots of work and I drive around and it's not available everywhere. So I only visit the shop. The days I'm here, I'm on a keto diet.
And in your opinion, let's say over the last 10 years, why do you think people come to the restaurant? Why do they go on a keto diet? Is it to lose weight because of autoimmune diseases? Like, why do you think people come?
Well, it's a combination of all. It's the best way to lose weight because you cut carb and sugar from your diet. Because combination of, say, protein and carb together, it's very bad for you because it slows down your metabolism. Also, your body releases lots of acid, and the body gets tired. At the same time, the body is looking for easy access to sugar or energy. So it taps into the sugar, and then the fat obviously absorbs to your body. So once you cut off carb and sugar from your body, so body taps into the protein and the fat, and you lose weight. So it's probably best way to lose weight, and it's very, very effective. At the same time, you will experience you're always feeling fresh, you don't get tired, and you have lots of energy. It gives you all of it.
One of the main ideas in a keto diet is this idea of staying in ketosis. How long do you think someone could do a keto diet for?
I think everybody obviously can find a way. For example, the days that I don't eat, I really want to eat some carb, I eat just vegetarian food. So I get bread or rice and some, let's say, stew without meat. So there are ways that you can find out what's the best for you, but it's good to consistent to stay on it. And my suggestion is the day that you don't want to say eat you don't want to eat carb, you want to eat carb, just stay with vegetarian food. Okay, obviously you need exercise, you need to walk, and you need to think positive. So I've been working on this diet for 20 years. I'm 66 years old. I feel very healthy. I am very energetic. I work 18 hours a day. I never feel tired. And I find it very, very useful. But the other thing about keto diet, especially with our restaurant, is the meat we use has no hormone, no antibiotic. The chicken is free-range chicken. So, and we try to avoid as much as possible no seed oils, So these combinations are very good for you. And your plate has to be, say, protein and vegetable together. Of course, you have to stay away from MSG. Lots of people talk to me and say, oh, we go to Chinese food or Vietnamese. I'm not talking bad about those. But the fact is, there's MSG, there's oil, there's sugar, it's all in there. So keto diet, you have to be very specific. You have to stay away from all kind of this nonsense, yeah.
So that makes it a little more clean.
More clean, it has to be, because you can't put poison in your body. These things kill you slowly, affects your body, your liver, your heart, and everything, yeah. So above all, I think you have to be really positive about your health and the environment. You have to be, because your health is not just what you eat, it's also what you contribute to the environment, to the poor people, to the young generation, and the love and the career. I think a combination of this is the way to go.
Okay.
It's just
Bahram, you said you've been on this diet for the last 20 years. You're the owner of this restaurant for the last 10 years. Have you seen any negative effects or people who are doing it in a way where it impacts them negatively?
Not really. What happened, I do sort of, I'm a boxer. I train boxers, yeah? And around, say, 2010, I started teaching them to stay on low carb, because that way they can maintain a low, slim. Because boxers usually, they eat, and then 5 weeks before the fight, they stop eating. So they're not really training. What happens, they're just losing weight. So, but if you maintain your health or your weight during the time that you're not fighting, obviously your body stays trained. And when you train, you are really training. And obviously there is lots of water around your brain. You don't want to lose that when you lose so much weight. So there is so much positive going about keto diet that I think it's the best way. You cannot mix carb and protein together. You cannot. That's not good at all. And every person has to eat around under 50 grams of carbohydrate a day. Average people are using about 850 to 1,000 grams. So that is really excessive. So staying on keto diet, try it about 50 grams. You always stay energetic, happy, and healthy. Honestly, of course, yeah. But combined with a little walking, right?
Bahram, I want to thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you.
After chewing the fat with such lovely stuff, it's easy to see why the restaurant is so well attended. But the real question is, how do the claims of keto hold up to science? To help us answer that question and others, I sat down with Dr. Wes Youngberg. He's a clinical specialist in lifestyle medicine. Dr. Youngberg, the keto craze has just been happening and ramping up over the last few years, this ongoing popularity about the keto diet. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's because it appears to work. That's why it's popular, because it helps satisfy or satiate so people don't eat as much. And let's face it, one of the biggest problems with the American or the westernized diet is they're just getting way too many unhealthy carbs. And when I mean unhealthy carbs, I mean sugaries and pastries and refined carbohydrates. And so the keto diet eliminates a big part of unhealthy food. And there's so much protein and fat involved that it satisfies and it basically creates metabolic changes where people don't eat as many total calories and therefore they lose weight. The question is here, okay, I'm losing weight, but is it actually healthy for me? That's the real question for it. We can talk about that more.
Okay, so in terms of weight loss, metabolic health, you're saying it's popular because people are losing weight. However, when it comes to, let's say, reversing chronic diseases, and we're kind of weighing the balance here between a ketogenic diet versus, I think as a lifestyle medicine practitioner, the type of diet that I think you'd probably recommend, a whole food plant-based diet. When you're looking at sustainability and reversing chronic diseases, how do these things weigh out?
Yeah, so the best example of this is I had a patient that had come to me a couple years ago. She had been to the Mayo Clinic, and she'd gone to a functional medicine practitioner at the Mayo Clinic. They have a really good program there. But this functional medicine doctor was promoting basically a paleo or ketogenic diet. And in the process, she lost weight, but she almost destroyed her kidneys. Now, this is a great example of, normally you think if you're losing weight, everything should get better, right? Your risk of heart disease goes down, your risk of diabetes goes down, your risk of complications of these chronic diseases goes down, your risk of kidney failure should go down. But how you lose weight has a huge determining factor on whether it's actually good for your organs or not. And we've known for decades that when you concentrate a large segment or a growing segment of your calories as animal proteins, which is essentially what a ketogenic diet is the popular approach to that is you're getting a lot of animal products, a lot of protein from meats typically. And we know that animal protein is really bad for the kidneys, especially if you already have some early problems with kidney function. And so one of the most commonly undiagnosed conditions in chronic disease in the world is a chronic kidney disease. A stage 3A chronic kidney disease is almost always goes undiagnosed because most doctors don't think that much of it. But you've already lost about half of your functional capacity of your kidneys getting rid of toxins, right? That's one of the main roles of the kidneys. So this patient at the Mayo Clinic went on this ketogenic diet. She lost weight and other parameters improved, but her kidney function dropped from like 55. That's the glomerular filtration rate. So she was in stage 3A chronic kidney disease. And it went all the way down to the high 20s. So now she was actually in stage 4 chronic kidney disease, which is a huge progression. Just going from stage 3A to stage 3B chronic kidney disease is a major increase in problems. But she went from stage 3A all the way to stage 4. The next stage is advanced chronic kidney disease right before you need dialysis. So she came to me and we worked off of Zoom, and I basically put her on a plant-based whole food diet, and that fortunately was able to reverse her stage 4 chronic kidney disease and bring her back up to where she had been before or better. But so this is a classic example. There's no question that there are many harmful effects from going on a ketogenic diet, especially if you already have some level of chronic disease.
So there are claims that the ketogenic diet can improve insulin sensitivity. There are claims that the ketogenic diet can even cure diabetes. You're saying that one of the ill effects that you've experienced with your patient is the danger to the kidneys. I'm wondering about the amount of time. If someone's on a ketogenic diet for a shorter period of time, are they at higher risk? And also, my other question as I group them together is what perhaps are some of the other health risks that people aren't aware of?
Well, to begin to answer that question, I always go back to what are the principles of health. When somebody goes on a ketogenic diet, they need to be asking the question: is this going to be healthy for me overall? So what are the general fundamental principles to good health? Not just weight loss, because there's all kinds of unhealthy ways to lose weight. There's all kinds of ways that you can lose weight that actually make you less healthy and actually increase your risk of a premature decline and death. And so health isn't all about weight loss, folks. We got to get that in our minds. And weight generally takes care of itself if you're eating the right foods appropriately. And so that should be really the main part of the discussion. It takes me back to a statement made over 30 years ago by Dr. Sidney Baker, who is a professor of medicine at Yale University Medical School. And he was one of these amazing medical professors that is kind of like Norman Rockwell of medicine. He'd have all these witticisms and you just love listening to him, because while you're learning, you're learning things that are really interesting that you can apply to patient care. And so Dr. Sid Baker said this, says that the optimal health and potential to heal requires that we provide all the necessary elements to optimize the system and remove any interfering elements. Those are the two main questions we need to ask whenever we do anything, whether it's like considering a ketogenic diet or maybe a plant-based whole food diet or whatever it might be. When somebody says, hey, this is healthy for you, apply these two standards to that concern. And so Dr. Sid Baker said, nutrients are the necessary elements in the broader sense of the term nutrients, and toxins are the interfering elements. So how much nutrition or beneficial factors are we getting into our body from this strategy, and how many things are actually potentially there that could tear my body down, could actually increase damage to my organ systems? And so you look at the ketogenic diet, and the very first thing that you notice is that you're greatly limiting nutrients. So it's almost like going on a fast, but you're going on a fast in a way that you don't feel like you're going on a fast because you're eating all this protein and fat. But you're literally fasting in terms of getting lots of nutrients. You're on basically what I would call a normal calorie malnutrition path. You're being malnourished when you're on a ketogenic diet. You're not getting enough nutrients. The only way you can get optimal nutrition in a diet is when you're bringing in a large share of non-starchy, colorful green vegetables and sulfur-rich vegetables into your diet. That is what Dr. Joel Fuhrman refers to as the nutritarian diet, or a diet that is high in nutrients but not high in calories. So if you want to lose weight, eat a diet that's high in nutrients that doesn't have a lot of calories, so that you can gradually burn off that every pound of fat represents 7,000 calories that you can't eat in order to get rid of that 1 pound of fat. So it boils down to making good nutritional choices that are still giving you lots of nutrients. Because if you're on a ketogenic diet, even for a short period of time, you are limiting the nutritional value of that diet. You're now increasing the toxicity of your body because you don't have enough nutrients to neutralize those toxins that we all get exposed to from time to time. So that would be the main argument I would make against focusing on a ketogenic diet, because it's not a healthy diet. You're not getting enough nutrients to support what your body needs to fight cancer, to fight stress, oxidative challenges, free radical activity, on and on, inflammation, and so forth.
So just to wrap up, as you said, the ketogenic diet is high in animal fat. It is high in animal protein. The plant-based diet is not. Is there a way of doing keto differently where you're kind of combining maybe the ketogenic diet with more of a plant-based diet and getting the benefits without the deleterious effects that we've already talked about?
It really depends on what philosophy you have in the ketogenic diet. Many practitioners of the full-blown ketogenic diet says no. Now you got to limit your even healthy non-starchy carbs so much that you're getting very little carbohydrate at all, and I would consider that to be unhealthy at any amount of time. But I would actually agree with the premise of your question is that you can actually promote what I call a mild ketogenic diet.
Okay.
That's plant-based and whole foods-based. Now, in this case, you have to moderate the starchy carbohydrates. And that's where some plant-based people go, no, that can't be true. And I would argue that it has to be true because when you're dealing with diabetes, if you're checking blood sugars after meals, any amount of time, like with a continuous glucose monitor on your shoulder or even with the finger stick method, you will know pretty quickly that you can't just eat as much starchy carbohydrates as you want if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, or even if you have insulin resistance, or even if you're overweight, because you're not going to lose weight that way. It's just not a healthy way to eat. You have to moderate. I'm not saying that starches are bad. They're not bad, but for many people, they can't tolerate that much starch until they become fitter and more metabolically optimized. And so you have to basically focus again on the non-starchy carbohydrates, which are your green leafy vegetables, your colorful vegetables. The vegetables have the most nutrients in them. And then you add maybe some legumes, which are starches, but they're resistant starches. So you're getting lots of fiber and lots of plant-based protein along with the starch. So that helps stabilize your blood sugars. So if you're paying attention to the total amount of starch you're consuming, and you're in a way restricting that to a point, and it's to the point of whether your blood sugars are good or not. And then you're getting lots of the healthy non-starchy carbohydrates. You're getting some fruits, but not a lot. And then you're making sure you're getting plenty of protein. For instance, this morning I had a cup and a half of stir-fried firm tofu, organic. It's got to be organic to be healthy because you don't want all the pesticides that are added to regular soy and tofu. And so I ate that. And so I literally got 60 grams of protein with my breakfast and 3 cups of vegetable stir fry. Purple cabbage, green cabbage, onions, mushrooms, and things like that. The baby spinach. I loaded. I got basically like 6 servings of non-starchy vegetables with my cup and a half of tofu, which is 3 servings of tofu, and each serving is 20 grams of protein. So I got plenty of protein and healthy fats with the tofu, right? Because there's some healthy fat in tofu. That's okay. It's still very healthy for you. But I got lots of veggies. So the core is get lots of non-starchy vegetables, get a healthy amount of plant-based protein, but not animal-based protein, because animal-based protein is really bad for your kidneys. And it's associated with all kinds of other toxins. Why? Because it comes from an animal that bioaccumulates toxins when they're exposed to toxins. They biomagnify toxins in their entire lifespan. So that's why I believe that you're far lower risk of developing cancer and other autoimmune conditions, etc., if you move away from animal protein, animal fat, to a whole plant-based nutritious program that also includes plant-based proteins in it.
Dr. Youngberg, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
That was some pretty eye-opening stuff from Dr. Wes Youngberg. I think it's time to weigh the evidence and let the chips fall where they may. Our research showed that the short-term benefits of a ketogenic diet include rapid weight loss, as well as improved insulin sensitivity. But on the other hand, research shows that the ketogenic diet can increase LDL cholesterol, which is also known as the bad cholesterol. Studies also find possible neurological benefits for the ketogenic diet for those who have epilepsy and for those who have Alzheimer's. However, studies have also shown that the keto diet can cause kidney strain. The data on achieving ketosis through polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats, also known as plant fats, is shown to have a positive effect. Some studies show that the ketogenic diet can lead to nutrient deficiencies, and because in its most popular form of practice, the keto diet promotes the consumption of animal products, long-term cardiovascular risk remains elevated, and cardiovascular disease is the #1 cause of death in North America. Finally, after looking at all of the evidence, my skepticism of the ketogenic diet is actually conditional. Let me explain. The scripture advises that mankind not eat animal fat at all, but not all fats are created equal. Animal-based fats are not as healthy as plant-based fats that you might find in coconuts, avocado, and olive oil. Animal fats are typically higher in saturated fat, which tends to have a deleterious effect on our health. Plant-based fats are higher in unsaturated fats, which tend to have a beneficial effect on our health. So, is keto a major help or a major hype? We've seen today that it can be both. If someone is following a primarily animal-based ketogenic diet, I am skeptical about that recommendation, as the long-term effects of that diet can possibly be harmful to their health. However, if a person chooses to follow a plant-based ketogenic diet, I'm not skeptical of that recommendation at all, as there's evidence to show an overall benefit to one's health with the plant-based ketogenic diet. So, with that said, I'm Dr. Nadine Plummer saying thanks for watching and stay selectively skeptical.